What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports and you're watching our college football channel. We're going to give you the best and worst case scenarios for the Ohio State Buckeyes for the upcoming 2023 college football season. This is the schedule for Ohio State, and you can see it's a pretty tough schedule. I mean, you've got some challenges in there. Notre Dame in the non-conference. I think Wisconsin playing them on the road out of the West. That's about as tough as it gets. And then, of course, you got to get through the Big Ten East to get through that division. We'll talk about the games. Let's start with the games that, they should win these games. Indiana, Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, Maryland, Purdue, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota. It would be a really big surprise to me if Ohio State lost any of these games. I don't really see any of these games even being all that competitive. I don't really see any of them being one-score games. I know Purdue won the West last year. But Purdue, I think, is going to drop off a little bit this year with a new coach, new quarterback, all that. Maryland, interesting matchup there, but at Ohio State, I just don't see that one being too much of a challenge. So I think those 8 games, you can pretty much count those as wins. Again, would be very surprised if they were to lose any of those games. So let's talk about the best case scenario. Well, the best case scenario is Kyle McCord comes in. He's just as good as C.J. Stroud. Maybe even better. They stay healthy. That's been a big problem, especially for like Travion Henderson. Stay healthy at running back, wide receiver. The 2 tackle positions that are question marks, those guys go out there and play really well. Defense takes a step forward from where they were last year. They've got the talent. They've got the pieces. If all that comes together, no reason why this team can't go undefeated. So I think best case scenario for Ohio State is 12-0. I almost put 11-1. I mean, you look at that Michigan game, you look at the last 2 years, and then you look at Michigan and the fact that they've gotten even better this offseason, and the games at Michigan, and you start to say, well, can Ohio State really win that game? I think that they can. Again, if you get the best case scenario and everything comes together, you look at the way they were aggressive against Georgia last year offensively. If they come out that way against Michigan this year, and again, this team is as good as they have the potential to be, they're going to have a chance in that game, even though it is at Michigan, even though Michigan is going to be even better this year. So I'm going to give them a shot in that one and say best case scenario is 12-0. You go back to the first half last year against Michigan. Outside of a couple of plays that Ohio State's defense gave up, they were actually the better team in the first half of that game last year. So I'm going to say they have a chance in that one. And again, Penn State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame winning all 3 of those games is going to be tough, but I think they can do it. I think there's a chance that Ohio State can do that. And then beyond the regular season, obviously winning the Big Ten, going to the college football playoff, winning the college football playoff, winning the national championship. Yes, I think Ohio State has the potential to do that. They are capable of doing that. That would be their best case scenario. So if you watch the video that we did on the teams that can win it all, I had Ohio State on there because they do have the potential to win a national championship this season. And now, obviously, every team's best case scenario is undefeated. Worst case scenario is lose every game. But we're trying to look at this more realistically. Just as I prepare to do my predictions, just kind of give you all some insight on what I'm looking at as the ceiling or floor for these teams, just my personal opinion. So we get to the worst case scenario now, and we come back to those games. Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan. Those 4 games. I don't see Ohio State losing all 4 of them, and I don't really see them losing 3. I think you split those 4 games and you go 10-2, and that would be the worst case scenario. Now, maybe it's not Notre Dame. Maybe they lose on the road at Wisconsin right after playing Penn State. That's definitely a dangerous game. You look at maybe Penn State even. I mean, that team's going to be good this year. So don't necessarily look at it as these 2 games. I would say Michigan is probably going to be on here for sure. But between Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, they lose one of those games. They go 10-2. They miss the playoff. They miss the Big Ten championship. That, to me, is probably the worst case scenario for Ohio State. Again, maybe you could drop this to 9-3 if you lose to Notre Dame and Michigan, and then maybe again to Wisconsin or Penn State. I just don't really see that happening. This team has too much firepower on offense, too much talent. I don't think that they'll lose more than 2 games. So I think the worst case scenario is 10-2. Again, missing out on the playoff, Big Ten championship, all of that. Another worst case scenario would be going 11-1, losing to Michigan, and I'm talking about for the fans, losing to Michigan again, and then maybe this year it doesn't work out and you miss the college football playoff. You go 11-0, everything's looking great, then you lose to Michigan, miss out on the playoff. That's a worst case probably for fans. But 10-2, I think the record, that would be the worst case here for Ohio State. So do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me your best and worst case scenarios for the Buckeyes in 2023 down in the comments below.